Rock Weather Ball, do you smell what the rock is cooking? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Ox here with another video. If you're new to the channel, we do upload Pokemon Go content mostly related to PvP, so please consider subscribing to the channel if that is of interest to you. And if you're a returning subscriber like Nihilistic Vet, thank you for the support. So as you may have noticed, the webcam is not working for today's video. I'll try and get that sorted out for the next video. But in today's video, we're taking a look at the newest season of Go Battle League, that is Season 8. And with it comes some changes to the meta. A lot of Pokemon have received buffs, in particular the poison types. However, there is one Pokemon that was considered to be buffed with the introduction of Weather Ball, Rock Weather Ball, and that is Hippowdon. So Hippowdon is a pretty interesting Pokemon. It has a wide array of moves to choose from. It has pretty much every single Fang you could imagine. It has Earth Power, Weather Ball, Body Slam, Earthquake, a lot of moves to choose from, and I had a hard time deciding. I definitely wanted to test out Weather Ball, but I couldn't decide between Body Slam or Earth Power. In the end, I went with Earth Power just to have a sort of nuke move, but Body Slam might be the way to go. So because these battles take place in rank 1, I'm not really looking to use the most meta team, so I've decided to pair Hippowdon with Galvantula in the lead, Vigoroth in the back. Two very strong Pokemon, but definitely not the best team that you could build around a Pokemon like Hippowdon. If you guys enjoy this type of content, please make sure you smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Leave a comment in the comments section down below. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And without any further ado, let's jump into the first battle right now. So we're starting these battles off at rank 1. I know a couple people start off at rank 2, others at rank 1. Not entirely sure what the deciding criteria for that is. However, we do have a Flygon lead here, which is pretty horrible for Galvantula, one of the worst leads you could see. So I'm going to swap out into the safe switch, which is the Vigoroth, and go for the Body Slam here. Now Flygon did receive a potential buff with Dragon Tail. Not sure if it performs better than Mudshot, but this opponent is running Mudshot, and they swap out into an Absol here, which isn't necessarily the best answer for Vigoroth. In fact, Vigoroth has a very solid matchup here, wins in just about every shield situation, so the opponent actually lets that go down there. And when I see the Marowak come in, I assume that the opponent probably made a misclick into the wrong Pokemon, so a bit unfortunate for the opponent there. Definitely benefits us, and we land the Bulldoze, which is amazing. Of course, the opponent was down a shield already, so a lot of shield pressure there to call the bait. And fortunately for us, they did guess wrong. They land the Shadow Bone, get the defense drop, which isn't necessarily the greatest thing to see, but we are going to throw this Body Slam here, and we do get the shield and the CMP ties, so everything's going right in this first matchup here to start the season. Shadow Bone comes through, we're going to take out the Marowak, and we'll come in with the Hippowdon. Opponent swaps out into Flygon here. Now Flygon does have a lot of energy, so I'm going to shield up this first move here. It is only a Dragon Claw, and I'm going to commit to the straight farm. Now at this point, I will allow this move to come through. I want to see how much damage it actually does to a Hippowdon, and Dragon Claw really not doing anything there, so going to commit to the straight farm now with Ice Fang, and the opponent comes back in with the Marowak. Going to throw the Weather Ball here, and this is going to be super effective damage to take out the Marowak there. Pretty much overkill. We take that first game. So let's hop into match number 2. And we're going up against Antoinette LZ4, leading the Galvantula into a Scolipede. So not the best lead for Galvantula here, but notice the CP at the top of the screen. This is not a fully maxed Scolipede. So these are the kind of things you will see in these early battles, of course. A lot of newer trainers, you get matched up with pretty much anyone, and we actually simultaneously swap out there. And once again, this benefits me a lot because it is a Mightyena, and I'm actually able to farm down completely with the Vigoroth, so I'm at 100 energy here. A Vaporeon comes in now at this point, and we are going to absolutely spam these Body Slams, get the second shield there. Still have another 2 Body Slams ready to go, so it's very possible we will be able to take out this Vaporeon without actually having to shield any moves from it as well. As the next Body Slam comes through, you can see being able to farm down that Mightyena really put us in a dominant position here. Scolipede comes back in, and notice I'm not actually clicking the Body Slam here because I want to come back in with the Hippowdon, get a little bit more familiar with it. We get knocked out there by the Mega Horn. Hippowdon comes in. I'm actually hoping the Scolipede does get to a move here because I kind of want to see how much damage it's going to do. Remember, this is only a 1200 CP Scolipede. Going for the Mega Horn, and look at that. Almost takes us out. Kind of crazy to think about what it would do if it was actually 1500 CP. Definitely would have ended up getting knocked out there, I think. But we end up taking that game. LOL weighing 64 in the next matchup. We got Galvantula into a Hitmonchan here. So a pretty solid lead here for Galvantula. Gonna build up to the charge move, throw the lunge here. So going for the attack drop here on the Hitmonchan at the shield as well, which is very good. And of course I will match shields here, but the opponent swaps out into Beedrill. So I decided to go for the lunge here. Definitely not going to be doing as much damage as this charge, but I do want the attack drop. They don't shield this time. Come in with Hippowdon now. And because we did get the attack drop, I'm okay letting the move come through here. It's actually an Aerial Ace. And we should be able to farm down now with Ice Fang before it gets to another move, which we are able to do. Now we're a little bit loaded on energy. Hitmonchan comes back in, going for the Weather Ball right here. And the opponent actually does shield because they have a lot of energy. Most likely they didn't want to get hit by a potential Earth Power there. And here comes the move. It's actually a return, so Purified Hitmonchan running return. And we're actually able to farm down, so they swap out into Jolteon. And this is what you love to see as Hippowdon. Here comes the Earth Power. Bang! There it is. Takes out the Jolteon. Hitmonchan gets farmed down by the Ice Fang. And we take that game. Let's hop into the next battle here. So we got Mike MTZ 10-11 in the next matchup. We are leading Galvantula into a Pidgeot here. So a pretty nice lead here for Galvantula. And this is not a Gust Pidgeot. I don't think it's even a Wing Attack. Wing Attack is Legacy, so unlikely to see that there. Probably like an Air Slash or something. So good matchup here. Opponent swaps on to Starmie and does shield up the lunge bait there. The opponent looks like they do not have any particular answer here for Galvantula. We can't quite farm down, so I'm going to shield up here. Basically at 100 energy at this point. And I suspect their third Pokemon is probably also weak to Galvantula at this point. Come back in with the Pidgeot. I swap out with my Hippowdon. Farm down with Ice Fang. And we are in a very dominant position here. Opponent comes with Tauros, 1100 CP. We end up going 5-0 in this set, but I forgot to record the 5th battle. I shouldn't actually say that I forgot to record the battle. I did actually record the 5th battle. The problem was that my storage was actually full on my phone, so the battle itself didn't record. Everything's going wrong today. No webcam. Paul George on the screen, killing the Mavericks. Everything's going wrong right now. I don't want to hear no Maverick slander in the chat. I got the jersey and the card. It's ready to go. We got Galvantula into Altaria here. This is a pretty bad lead for us, so I'm going to throw a Discharge and then swap out into the Vigoroth here. And the opponent's choosing to stay in, so I'm going to build it to the Body Slam, throw this. The opponent appears to be over farming here, so I'm okay with that. Throw the Body Slam, get this Altaria very low. And the opponent is still not throwing, and they actually allow me to get to another Body Slam here, which I think is a mistake on the opponent's part, because although they are going to throw back to back now, because I threw first, I get the second shield. Now I have the decision to make. I could actually let both these Sky Attacks go through and just take a 2 shield advantage, come in with the Hippowdon, farm down with Ice Fang. Assuming they stay in, they should probably swap out instead of letting me farm down with Hippowdon. But of course, these are very early ranked battles, so the opponent does stay in. I get some free farm with the Hippowdon there. We have a 2 shield advantage and we see a Skarmory come in. So perhaps the opponent didn't want to give up switch advantage, knowing that I did have Galvantula for this Skarmory in the back. So they're going to stay in here, but with a 2 shield advantage, it's actually a very dominant position to be in with the Hippowdon. So I'm going to shield up the Sky Attack here, over farm slightly until this Skarmory gets into Weather Ball knockout range. And this should be enough to take out the Skarmory right here. So Weather Ball comes through, takes out the Skarmory. We see an Umbreon in the back. And I'm going to go for the Earth Power here. I think 1 Earth Power will potentially do more than 2 Weather Balls, but I could be wrong on that. Earth Power comes through. And I was trying to see if I get to another move, and the opponent's not throwing here, which is actually a very smart play on their part. So it forces me to swap out into my Galvantula, and we're actually in a pretty tough spot here. Luckily for me, I will be able to get to this lunge. However, if this Umbreon actually was able to outpace me to the second foul play, we could have ended up losing this battle. So very well played by the opponent there. Lucky to escape that one with a win against a pretty difficult lead. So hopping into the next battle here. Going up against Singer and Cincy, we are leading Galvantula into a Gabite. So this is the kind of spice you want to see in these early ranks right here. I have no idea what kind of moveset this thing is running, so I swap out into Vigoroth, and at this point I decide to no shield despite not knowing what the moveset is, because they threw so quickly that there's no chance it could be a nuke move. It has to be something that's low energy and as a result doesn't hit as hard. So I decide to no shield that, go for the body slam here. We see the shield come up, and at this point I realize that I could actually survive this and pressure the second shield or take switch advantage with the one shield advantage. So that's why I decided to do no shield. Throw the body slam here. This will either get the second shield or the let it go and will take switch advantage while being up one shield. So that's what they do. Altaria comes in here. Now I'm going to throw the body slam here, and once this Vigoroth goes down, I will be able to come in with the Hippowdon and pretty much go to work on this thing with Ice Fang. So Hippowdon comes in here, you can see super effective damage coming through. Probably gonna let this Sky Attack go through here. Does not too much damage, to be honest, about 40%. Lapras comes in, gonna throw the Weather Ball here. Rock Weather Ball, do you smell what the rock is cooking? Here it comes, doing some super effective damage. Swap out into Galvantula, and at this point we pretty much just have to shield once and commit to the straight farm down with Volt Switch, at which point we will have 2 discharges ready to go. That will be enough to take care of this Altaria. I actually go for the lunge here, which I think if you're looking to play this game perfectly is the wrong play here, because if they don't shield, it's kind of a win condition there for them to call the bait. So I think if you're playing this the right way, you just want to go straight discharge, throw back to back, because one will get the shield, the second will pretty much knock it out. So that's the correct way to play, but you know, we're making some early noob plays out here, so definitely not the best gameplay to learn from in terms of my own play right here. I'm playing pretty bad, but we get a nice lead here in Gyarados, and the opponent swaps out into a Marowak, and at this point I realize that my team doesn't necessarily have any good counter for Alolan Marowak, so I throw a discharge, was really hoping that would go through, which it did, and now I come in with the Hippowdon. I'm gonna throw the Weather Ball here. I decide to shield this first move in case it is a Shadow Bone. Of course they bait me with the Bone Club, so I'm gonna overfarm slightly. Throw the Weather Ball here. This will be enough to knock out the Marowak. Let's see if they want to burn a shield and get off a second move. They do. So at this point, that should kind of tell me that this is probably going to be the Shadow Bone, Shadow Wall, but I decide to no shield it, and of course it is. And we get the defense drop. So the defense drop is really bad for us, because now it actually gives the opponent the opportunity to take switch if they want by shielding up this move and committing to the farm down. But fortunately for us, they do let it go through, which is a huge break, because now we get to keep alignment. But they have a Victreebel on the back, which isn't necessarily the best thing we wanted to see here. So I'm going to come in with Vigoroth, and Vigoroth versus Victreebel. You know, it's not the greatest match, but the opponent swaps out into Gyarados. And although I have to shield here, this gives me a very strong win condition. I could basically shield this move up here and commit to the straight farm down. That's going to allow me to get to the lunge. The lunge is going to get the shield from the Victreebel, and because I'm lowering the attack here, they actually can't farm me down with Razor Leaf before I get to one more lunge. So they either have to throw energy or take this lunge. If they throw energy, then they're going to be dry. My Vigoroth should be able to come in and land the body slam after. So we were in a really good position there after the opponent swapped out into the Gyarados. Let's hop into the 4th battle of this set, going up against Shadow Brady. This is a trainer that I've battled numerous times in previous seasons, so a very talented trainer. We got Pidgeot lead here. Pretty nice for us, of course. It is running Gust here, so that's doing a lot of damage. I'm actually going to go for the lunge bait here. The Pidgeot pretty much has to shield here because Discharge would KO, so they want to make sure they get off a charge move here. And at this point, it's going to be a Feather Dance, and I actually did not know that Feather Dance lowers the attack here by 2 stages. So I didn't even notice that it lowered my attack here. So at this point in the battle, I had no idea my attack was lowered because I didn't even notice that. So I'm just throwing moves here. I threw the lunge in order to get the extra Volt Switch, and the opponent comes with Machamp. So I throw lunge again, not realizing that my attack has been lowered by 2 stages at this point. So if I had known that, I would just went straight for the discharge instead, but I didn't know. So Machamp, a bit of a problem here. I'm going to come in with Hippowdon. The Machamp isn't quite at a move yet, and they swap out into Azumarill. And at this point, I realized that not only is this a pretty hard meta team that we're going up against here, but it's also very difficult for this backline. Machamp actually did very well, or sorry, not Machamp, Galvantula actually did very well against this entire team, but unfortunately I gave it up in the lead. So now their own backline actually kind of destroys mine, so there's nothing I can really do here. Machamp kind of destroys both of these Pokemon. And Azumarill also actually destroys both of them. So it's a really tough position to be in here. So I'm going to shield up and go for the Body Slams. At this point, Vigoroth's pretty much my only win condition against this Azumarill. So I'm going to throw the Body Slam here. And the opponent actually swaps out into Machamp. So I'm going to throw this Body Slam immediately, knowing they're not at a move yet. And then swap out into my Hippowdon. Notice their health there was in the yellow. And notice now how it changes into green. So I threw this Weather Ball, assuming that they were at the yellow that initially showed. And this Weather Ball would probably be enough to KO from that range. But it's actually in the green, and that means I didn't have enough to knock out there. So we're going to get hit by the Cross Chop here and take out the Machamp. But now, because of that, the Azumarill comes in. It's going to be able to farm me down and outpace us to the Play Rough, Ice Beam, whatever the move is here, and win this game. So unfortunately for us, that sort of visual glitch kind of played a role. We would have probably ended up losing that match anyways, but considering how hard of a counter that was in the backline for us, I'm quite happy with how we played that out and actually made the game very close. And I think if not for that visual glitch, I could have probably got the Earth Power off on the Hippowdon and maybe even won that game, who knows. But here we face some lag in the Umbreon vs Galvantula match, which means that we're going to get outpaced to the first move, which shouldn't happen. We should get to the lunge first, but because of that, we're actually going to get there second. And because they're running Dark Pulse, that means we should get to the second lunge first as well. But once again, because of that initial lag at the start of the match, the opponent got one extra Snarl in before we threw any move, and the second Dark Pulse comes through. That's going to flip this matchup a little bit here for us, so I'm going to throw the lunge here. It doesn't really flip the match, but it means we took a bit more damage. The Politoed comes in. I swap out to Vigoroth to catch the Weather Ball here because I kind of need this Politoed, or this Galvantula now at this point. When they bring in Politoed, I assume that their whole team is probably pretty weak to Galvantula, and they come in with a Venusaur. So I'm going to throw the Body Slam right here. And this is a little bit difficult because Venusaur kind of destroys the Hippowdon. So does the Politoed. So I decided at this point that I am going to shield this because I realized that if I do shield this, I'm able to outpace the Venusaur to 2 Body Slams before it gets to the next Frenzy Plant. So that means I will be able to get both shields from the Venusaur in exchange for my 1. So that seems like a fair trade to me. I'm going to throw the Body Slam here. And I think at this point, this is where I make the mistake. I decide to sack the Hippowdon here, which will get one shot by Frenzy Plant. I think this is a mistake. I think what I should have done was actually allowed this Venusaur to throw the Frenzy Plant at my Vigoroth and then hope to come in with the Hippowdon, farm down with Ice Fang, knowing that the Politoed actually can't KO Hippowdon with only 1 Weather Ball, whereas the Vigoroth, they will be able to KO with 1 Weather Ball. So I think that was my mistake in this particular matchup. They do end up throwing energy here, but they're able to build up to 2 Weather Balls. And because my Galvantula is still 1 Volt Switch short of the discharge, they're going to be able to throw the move before me, take this game. We end up losing 2 in a row there, going 8-2 overall in our first 10 battles. Not the greatest run, but I'll take it. Pretty happy with the results so far. So those were the battles featuring Hippowdon in the Great League. First battles of Season 8, and definitely a lot of fun teams that we ran into there. I think Hippowdon definitely is going to benefit from the added Weather Ball to its arsenal. Definitely has a nice move pool to select from. And I think it's going to be a Pokemon that's definitely spice, but has a lot of play against a lot of the meta picks. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like, commenting, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.